The time is at hand.
From a wet, rainy West Virginia, you're listening to a show called In Dark Places. My name is Jumbo Fugit, and crackheads unite. These weather guys, they've got the weather all screwed up. July and August are supposed to be the hottest time of the year in this part of the country, and for the last couple of weeks it's been like just 80 degrees or so, 82. The nights have been getting down like around 56. That's been the norm for August these last 4 or 5 years. They've made August cooler, like fall time. I don't know how they do it. I don't know why they do it. I just know they're doing it. Laugh all you want to. Deep down inside, you know something's wrong. I'm going to eventually do a deep dive on all this. But for today, we're talking about synchronicities. Last time we did a show about synchronicities was on episode 89. It's been a while. So this will be the highly anticipated sequel. I was talking to our roving reporter, Jimmy Haunted, a couple days ago about the movie The Odyssey. Have you seen that? Comes highly recommended by my uncle, Milkman. So me and Jimmy were talking about the new movie. It's based on the book by Homer, and there's probably been like 700 versions of the movie. So there we are, we're talking about it, and Jimmy said, you know what? You're not going to believe this, but I was just watching a video of Opie and Anthony talking about the movie The Odyssey. We have these things happening like this on a daily basis anymore. It's insane. The last episode we did, Native American Tales of Terror. Well, I was in the middle of recording my stories. Jimmy had already done his stories, and we were all set. I was going out on break at work, as I tend to do. I was going out of my car, and there was a car parked in the fire lane. And let's discuss that, shall we? Why do people park in the fire lane? We'll do that some other time, I guess. There's this truck, big old monster truck looking thing, parked in the fire lane, and it had a Montana license plate. And there was a Native American fellow standing by the truck. He was putting air in the tires, and I think there was even some sort of bumper sticker or something on the license plate talking about the reservations. I don't remember. But how insane is that? It was right while I was still recording my Native American stories, and this Native American guy was there. We don't see many of those around these parts. I was out in my car on my break, and I messaged Jimmy and told him the situation. How freaky is that? There's a Native American guy here right now this minute, and I'm recording stories about Native American folklore. I think I'm going to go up to the guy whenever I go back in for my break. I want to ask him if he's got any kind of crazy stories. And right while I was recording my message to Jimmy, the Native American truck guy just pulled out of the parking lot, and I missed my opportunity. Our friend Matt Leggett told me a story about a crazy, insane synchronicity that he had the other day. And that's the real inspiration for this very episode. Because me and Jimmy were talking about our synchronicities, and then Matt started telling me about one of his synchronicities. So I said, you know what? Let's nip this in the bud and do another synchronicity episode. So check this out. This is our friend Matt Leggett reaching out all the way from England.
Synchronicities a while. I had a funny one, which I'll tell you in a short while. I tend to have synchronicities run a lot, and then I have like a month of nothing. But I love them when they happen. It's very odd. Even today, I was listening to an audio book about how the universe talks to you. And it does in so many weird ways. Yeah, so I had a funny synchronicity the other day, very odd. So I was watching a TV series, and it was Ted Lasso. It's called Ted Lasso. It's about a guy an American who takes over an English football team and turns them around. And this one scene, his psychologist rode in on a bike, one of those bikes that you can fold up into the size of a backpack and carry in, somewhere. So she got off her bike, and she clicked all these buttons, and it folded into a nice compact bike. And I was like, wow, that is cool. I've seen them. They're very expensive. They're about £1,000. And I was like, that's really awesome. You can take it into your office and it's not going to get stolen. And I went out that day, and I went into town, and literally I was sat outside a cafe, and this guy pulls up on the same bike, and he stops, he clicks the saddle down, clicks a few other buttons, and he folds it up. And I was like, wow, that doesn't happen too often. You see, in the morning somebody doing it, and then in the afternoon somebody doing identically the same thing. Very strange, but it was cool. I like those sort of things.
See there, how insane is that? These things should not happen. I don't know. Thank you, Matt Leggett. That is cool. Kinda scary, but cool. And by the way, that is highly encouraged activity right there. What Matt just did. He sent a voice message to me that can be played on the show. Just about everybody and his grandpa has Facebook. There's a feature on Facebook Messenger that allows you to record messages, and you can send those to the In Dark Places Facebook page, and I will play them on the show. I think it's a neat way to kind of break things up and let people have a different voice to listen to besides mine all the time. So send in your experiences. We want to hear them. Or do it the old-fashioned way and type it out and send it in, or just send in your experiences one way or another. We'd love to hear them. I have another example of this. Back around 1991, 1993, I got a game for the Nintendo Entertainment System called Monster Party. And it was a dumb, corny game, but we loved it. I took Brandon to this little shop over at Pikeville, Kentucky called The Gaming Company. It sells a bunch of old retro games and stuff like that. And there was a Nintendo game that kind of looked like Monster Party, had the same type of label and stuff, but it wasn't it. And I told him I thought that was Monster Party. And he's like, what's Monster Party? And I said, well, it was a kind of dumb, corny game, but I loved it. It wasn't it, though. But like the next day, my buddy Roger sent me a YouTube video of Monster Party gameplay. He said, remember this game? We used to play this all the time. It was a dumb, corny game, but we loved it. And while I'm shouting out to people, hey Steve, Tony, Mountain Holler, Amber, we appreciate y'all. This guy on Reddit defines synchronicities in the following way: an alignment of casually unrelated events, rather mysteriously related by meaning, often involving numbers as indicators of metaphysical activity or cosmic meaning, as if some message were conveyed by higher power, happening so frequently as to be unexplainable by pure chance, also known as a meaningful coincidence. In the past year, I have been experiencing these more and more, but recently they have been happening so frequently that I simply cannot attribute them all to pure chance. I will illustrate what I mean by a list of examples. I went to CERN with school. 11 boys and 11 girls participated. I was at a concert and got out my phone to use the light. At that exact moment, my phone displayed 22:22. Whilst half sleeping in a tour bus, I felt the urge to open my eyes.
Urge. I've got the urge. She's got the urge to burble.
Oops, bad things happen when you have urges. Right as I opened them, I saw 10:05 on a clock on a building, which is an important number to me. A classmate of mine and myself flipped pages in our notebooks at the same time. On the next page, we found a cute text put there by our exes months ago. At 11:11, I had 11% battery on my phone. My girlfriend misclicked on a video and accidentally put the time at 1:11.11. I upvoted a picture, and then it had 1,111 upvotes. I felt the urge.
Urge. I've got the urge. She's got the urge to burble. She ran the burble in the shower.
I felt the urge to check the time, and my phone displayed 11:11. The same thing happened at 12:12. I downloaded the discography from my girlfriend's favorite musician. The first few songs I heard on shuffle got stuck in my head, and I played them on repeat. These turned out to be exactly her favorite songs. My girlfriend has an internship at a nursery school. She played a game with a few kids in which they could all collect a maximum of 13 stickers. They all had 11 in the end. My brother randomly showed me many messages he had. It was 1100. I was on a Skype call, and as my eyes randomly happened on the call duration, it displayed 1111. Except for the top 3, these all happened within the last 2 days. Today is the 11th. There were many more in the preceding months, but I hope this illustrates my point. It does, but let's talk about why you were at CERN. That place is evil. I want to hear. Now he says, I do not go looking for these. I do not force them to happen. I try not to hype them and feel all kinds of special. They just happen without my intent. If I am in a situation where I, for example, see the time a lot because there is a clock, I discard any special numbers because they were bound to happen. I only write them down when it seems like a complete coincidence. But the thing is, put them all together and it becomes too strange not to think about that something else might be happening. More strange coincidences happened lately, and especially in the last 2 days. But they require more background and explaining, so I'll keep it all simple, number ones. So that guy gives a nice little introduction for us to prepare you for this week's episode. My synchronicities occur with vehicles, seeing SKY or variations of SKY, such as SKZ on license plates. It all started about 5 years ago while watching news footage after a tornado. The truck in the background had license plate SKY, and I found that odd. Now I can't stop seeing it. No matter while on the road, without even looking for it, inevitably, a vehicle will appear in front of me with that license plate. Then I will immediately see something significant, like a bumper sticker about God or a cross. It's like the universe is waving to me to get my attention, and then God is giving me reassurance. It drove me nuts for a bit in the beginning, but I've learned to embrace it, and now find it amusing. I've told my loved ones and coworkers of this happening, and they excitedly tell me when they notice it. I've been on a spiritual, what's my life meaning path for years, so I'm very attuned to analyzing situations and why they may be significant. Just enjoy the ride. These synchronicities happen all throughout the day, and they seem to relate to my thoughts and spiritual beliefs. It is at such frequency that it's making me doubt my sanity. Perhaps I have schizophrenia. On the other hand, perhaps it's God or some sort of entity. I seem to get messages from these synchronicities sometimes. Sometimes they seem to build me up, but often they tear me down afterwards. It feels as if it's a fight between good and evil for my soul. The synchronicities manifest at things relating to my current thoughts or spiritual matters, such as scripture I've been contemplating usually, but also just strange occurrences. Sometimes it's the TV, sometimes it's what people say, or just 1 in a million chance coincidences happening over and over. Maybe I should buy a lottery ticket. Also, I am the only one that seems to notice them, and they are very personal and seem directed only to me. I'm talking both pre-recorded and live television, both responding to my thoughts as I have seen them. Perhaps the thoughts are instead being planted in my head, and then I'm just not aware. Seem to be the more logical explanation. I thought maybe it's the Holy Spirit making miracles happen. I've also considered maybe it's some sort of trickster entity playing with me, or even Satan or a demon. Maybe all of them at the same time. Maybe this is a simulation. Maybe I'm the only real person. I don't believe that, but I've considered it. Ultimately, it feels as if there is one entity trying to help me in my spiritual growth and confirm my beliefs. Then there is another that is deceiving me and ultimately leading me to doubt and despair. It's like a roller coaster. When I think back to as the Buddha achieved enlightenment and the daughters of Mara attacked him to prevent it from happening, it feels as if that's what's happening to me. Like I'm on the cusp of something great, but someone doesn't want me to get there. Also, I've seen a fleet of UFOs once. Well, let's talk about those UFOs. You can't leave us hanging there. My first one happened when I was 14. My parents were getting divorced. I cried all night and prayed to God to help me, and the next day a girl showed up that I fell in love with. Ultimately, it was unrequited, so it didn't really work out in the end, but it gave me hope for a while. The universe works in strange ways. that we'll never fully understand, I guess. Regarding talking to others about it, I've tried, but it seems almost completely pointless with most people. You just can't make them understand with words, and somehow they don't even realize it when it happens right in front of them. There's a quote in the Bible saying, "Having eyes, they do not see. Having ears, they do not hear." And I feel like that's super relevant to me. I also wonder whether the various religions are all windows into the same house, so to speak. Perhaps it's possible that they can all work together. At least that's what I'd like to believe. It's a powerful and mind-boggling experience. At times really fun, but also kind of lonely. I want to find a way to open others' eyes to this phenomenon. If I can, though. I'm not sure I'm capable of that just yet, though. Not sure how to reproduce the experience. A couple years ago, I was struggling with alcohol and drinking way too much. Around the same time, I discovered Jungian theory. I've worked as a janitor and was working in the evening one night. Was kind of talking with myself, trying to convince myself not to pick up a few drinks on my way home. Just as I'm battling myself and really cursing at myself, an old man knocks on the door, asking if this building is where the AA meeting was being held. This place resembles a daycare, and I was the only one parked in the parking lot, so I don't know for sure if that counts as one, but this made me not pick up a drink on the way home, and I got my drinking back under control. I think of it as very useful. I was starting a business called Bodie Bubbles. I needed to find an artist for our packaging. Come across an artist randomly on IG. I started following him, reached out a few days later, gave him a rundown on the project. He responded back. My son, Bodie, who is 2, is sitting on my lap, and he is blowing spit bubbles with his lips. He took the project. I live in a condo complex in a suburb right outside the city of Chicago. My condo complex shares a fence with the 5th hole of a golf course. When you leave the parking lot of the complex, on the side of the golf course, the entire hole 5 runs along the first block and a half of the street. As you walk down the fenced edge of hole 5, you can get 1 through 4 balls every day during the summer from people who have shanked a shot. One day I was walking back, very down on myself, feeling like no matter how much work I put into my creative endeavors, nothing was working. I started questioning myself on my walk, and was really getting in my head about not being good enough. It was really a crisis of confidence, and worse than I normally get. I have tried many endeavors, and this one, writing my newsletter, felt fundamental to my journey, but I just felt so inadequate that day. I came upon a ball as I walked down the fence and picked it up, and etched into the ball was, "Believe in yourself." I think that writing is going to play a huge role in my life, and I think the universe spoke to me that day. I have had many in my life. I associated rabbits with a girl I was fond of her. We reached a point in our interactions where it was obvious the interactions were no longer useful for both of us. I held on to the thought of her for a while, felt a little helpless on being able to let go of the possibilities with her. When my helplessness reached a cycle of denial that there may still be something to be had between us, I started seeing signs. For the next week, as soon as I found myself lost in the thought of her, and in a romantic way, I saw a dead rabbit. Happened about 4 or 5 times, 3 of which were in a couple of days from each other. A couple other times that happened months later when I decided to revisit thinking about us again. I saw one right next to me on the road when I was walking, which I did not notice until the thought occurred. Meaning is in the eye of the beholder. We make our life meaningful, and we assign meaning to them. I find Jung's concept of collective unconsciousness archetypes incredibly interesting, because they seem to have meaning braided within their very being. Or perhaps they are just such powerful symbols that when we experience them, it is hard not to ascribe a meaning. Just like one experiences what they feel as a contact with the divine, we often try to make sense or meaning of it. We often try to describe the undescribable. Synchronicities are beautiful, and they are all varied in their effects as well as their nature. If anything, a synchronicity reminds me to contemplate and take a moment to absorb what's happening. I see synchronicities like a type of guide or teacher. A true guide in the sense that it never teaches me something or learns for me directly. It is as if some force is telling me, well, that was an interesting thought or emotion. Pay attention to what you are feeling and how you are reacting. Never telling me that something is right or wrong, but telling me that something that's happening is worth the squeeze of focusing upon it. I had been taking my kids out to the woods to walk in the forest every weekend for months. Every time we would go, something cool would happen. We would see deer really close, catch a snake, find a salamander, see a beaver, or some really cool birds of prey, eagle, hawk, or owl. Every time something happened, I would always tell my kids seeing these things were blessings from God. I especially thought the birds were symbolic because they resonate with me on a deep and spiritual level. Then one time we brought walkie-talkies and hid from each other. It was so much fun and made me feel like I was a kid again. But nothing special with nature happened. I told myself, not my kids, the wonderful fun we all had together was a blessing, but I felt like I was lying to myself. Next week, I was walking in the woods alone. I was on a long walk, 7 miles, and had just passed the halfway mark when I thought to myself, wow, nothing special has happened so far. And probably nothing special was going to happen. I was walking with my head down, looking at the trail, deep in thought, as this occurred to me. The instant the thought was complete, I picked up my head from the trail, and about 8 feet in front of me, sitting on a branch, only 10 feet off the ground, was a beautiful and very big hawk. It was by far the closest I have ever been to a bird like that. I walk in the woods all the time. I have spent hundreds, if not thousands, of hours walking on those trails. I had not seen a hawk like that, so close, nor on a branch, so low to the ground. They perch high in trees. It was staring right at me. I literally started laughing and realized God had just opened the veil of the universe to me for a moment. The odds of that happening at that exact instant are staggeringly low. It would have been an insane coincidence if it had happened within 30 minutes. But it happened the literal instant my inner monologue had completed. That was about 3 years ago, the week before Christmas. I have always believed in God, but I had some doubt. I no longer have any doubt. I do not claim to know what God is or to understand how God works, but I now have conviction that there is a higher power, a power that knows and loves me as an individual. The following 4 months I lived in a state of grace, an extended sense of peace and well-being that I had only experienced a few other times in my life. It may not sound so crazy to other people, and I am sure a skeptic could try to rationalize the event, but I know exactly how it happened and exactly what I experienced. I am good at math and understand possibilities. I know for a fact this was no coincidence. I wondered if the love I experienced with someone was true or not. Around this time I was drawn to watch a movie. I'm not usually a big movie person, and there was a song I loved in the movie, which I Shazammed. I listened to the song a week later, and his name was in the song. I just started crying. It was just so strange. His name is Rare. I was drawn to that particular movie, and that particular song, without knowing his name, would be mentioned, and it confirmed to me that there was love between us. Love is a powerful thing. I'm not sure why our connection is important in the grand scheme of things. When I read what I typed, it makes the experience seem watered down and childish. It's a felt experience, and there's so many tiny unspoken variables that come into consideration to make it feel like a synchronicity rather than a coincidence. It's just unexplainable, really. But you just know when it happens. Numbers, literally everywhere. Butterflies passing me during certain thoughts. Song lyrics at very peculiar moments. Seeing objects related to thoughts I just had. There's synchronicities every day for me, similar to one day a couple of years ago. There was a tiger swallowtail butterfly in the alleyway by my house that had broken wings and couldn't fly. I felt so bad for it, so I put my finger down and it crawled on. I moved the butterfly to the grass in a field because it looked so sad on the gravel and pavement of the dirty alleyway, and I didn't want it to die there. Then the next day, I was wearing the same clothes as that day and walking on the other side of that field, and a tiger swallow butterfly flew up to me and flew away. It was nice. The weirdest one for me was about 3 years ago. I was at a gas station and a little girl ran up to me and asked if I was her dad. I laughed and said no. She walked all around me. I then turned around and my father walked into the same gas station. I dreamt of my mother's death a year before it happened. In the dream, I was in a barn filled with hay. There was a party happening. I was standing by a phone that suddenly rang. When I answered, a person on the other end told me that I must return home because my mother was dying. I woke up in a sweat, and I knew it was a big dream. I only told one other person about the dream, but would visit it in my mind from time to time. Flash forward about a year later, and I was at a party. We were not in a barn, but in a field, and it being California, the grass surrounding us was tall, brown hay. This was long before cell phones or even answer machines. In the middle of the festivities, my roommate walked up to me and told me that my aunt had left a message saying that I needed to call her. I knew instantly why. I flew home and took care of my mother for the last 3 months of her life. She had lung cancer and went from working 40 hours a week to dead in 90 days. My mother and I had been estranged, and caring for her healed many wounds, but it was not easy. I feel like the dream was a gift that allowed me to prepare for taking that big trip with her. What I didn't expect was that there was a powerful grace that comes upon you for doing your best to care for that loved one. This experience and other instances of synchronicity have convinced me that there is more going on out there than just some biological accident happening in space. But there you go. The rain has stopped, and the guys are riding their four-wheelers and dirt bikes and other various ATVs up and down the road non-stop while I'm trying to record this. So that tells me it's time to put an end to it. This has been Synchronicities Part 2, the sequel. And I appreciate you all listening. Thanks, Matt Leggett, for the story. I'll see you again next week. God bless.